Hello, everybody. In this session, we are talking about the substitution effect. The substitution effect is the decrease in sales for a product that can be attributed to consumers switching to cheaper alternatives and when its price rises. A product may lose market share for many reasons, but the substitution effect is purely a reflection of frugality. If a brand raises its price, some consumers will select a cheaper alternative. If beef prices rise, many consumers will eat more chicken. And then, why understanding the substitution effect is important? Supply and demand is a key concept in a wide range of industries, and understanding the substitution effect is key when optimizing a brand's pricing. Competitive pricing is an important factor that greatly impacts a brand sales and overall market shares. That's why it is imperative for companies to cautiously change their product or service prices and be aware of how competitors are pricing closely related goods. Armed with this information, you can recognize the potential impacts of the substitution effect on your profits and make the changes necessary to avoid negative consequences. The substitution effect can also affect the demand for a product or service. How it affects your business depends on whether you are selling more or less due to the substitution effect. You can respond by more accurately determining how much product your company should produce or when it's wise to decrease production. This realization could end up saving your company, allowing the organization improve its financial situation and redirect cash flows away from production and to the appropriate areas. And then, how does the substitution effect work? In macroeconomics, the substitution effect shows how product price increases can influence the demand curve, where cost saving is the driver of consumer action. When a product's price rises, consumers will opt for substitute goods, finding others that fulfill their needs at a cheaper cost. The substitution effect typically occurs when prices rise, but neither the GDP or gross domestic product nor the consumer income increases. Monetary policies do not influence the substitution effect, only consumer choices do. In times of economic hardship, increased interest rates, or inflation, companies are less likely to increase the cost of goods. So the substitution effect typically occurs in more stable economies. The substitution effect abides by the law of demand and how consumers' budget constraints affect needs and spending habits. And then substitution effect and inferior goods. The substitution effect does not always occur, particularly for inferior goods. Such goods are inferior to its substitutes, so an increase in price may mean that these goods are still cheaper than its substitutes. In some instances, consumers will have no option but to buy inferior goods as they are still cheaper than its comparable substitutes. On occasion, these inferior goods may actually go against the normal supply and demand mechanisms. These are also known as given goods. These goods actually see an increase in demand when prices increase. The phenomenon was noted by Sir Robert Given, who found that the demand for potatoes actually increased in response to higher prices. The reason was that consumers on limited budgets had to pay more for potatoes, which also meant they did not have enough for higher quality goods. The remaining income could only be spent on more potatoes instead, so the demand actually increases. And then we move to examples of the substitution effect. The first example about consumer goods. If the price of beef rises significantly, consumers might buy more chicken as a substitute protein source. Conversely, if the price of beef falls, consumers might buy more beef and less chicken. And then the second example about investment choices. If interest rates on savings accounts increase, investors might move their money from stocks to savings accounts to take advantage of the higher returns. Conversely, if interest rates decrease, they might invest more in stocks or other higher yielding assets. And then the third examples of the substitution effect is about energy consumptions. When the price of gasoline increases, consumers may use public transportation more frequently or switch to more fuel-efficient vehicles. If gasoline prices decrease, consumers may revert to driving more or using less efficient vehicles. And then what factors influence the substitution effect? Several factors impact the substitution effect, including the prices of substitute and complementary goods, as well as the income level of the consumer. When the prices of substitute goods rise, consumers tend to switch their purchases to the relatively cheaper alternatives, reflecting the concept of substitutes influencing consumer choices. Similarly, changes in the prices of complementary goods can also steer consumers towards different products. Variations in consumer income play a crucial role in determining substitution decisions, as individuals with higher purchasing power may be more flexible in their choices. I think it is enough for this session. Thanks for watching, and don't forget give this channel with your like, comment, subscribe and share. Thank you.